Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Blend up some coffee, pull up a seat, get comfortable. It is week 19 of the ketogenic diet review. So, this week, no notes. Sometimes I have to have notes just because there's so much technical mumbo jumbo that my episodes sometimes sound like an episode of Grey's Anatomy. This week, I didn't really want to do that. It's a little uncomfortable for me to have to read notes and look at the camera. I feel like a politician, so I prefer to just sit around and talk like friends, because we're all just friends, we're all just having conversations. So that's what I wanted to do this week. I did want to address a couple things. I wanted to talk about the motivation behind a ketogenic diet. I know everyone's motivation can be different, but I think it's important to understand your motivation and then to also kind of understand the reality behind what maybe your motivation is. And I also then wanted to talk a little bit about some of the health benefits beyond just weight loss that a ketogenic diet offers. So this kind of came to me because the longer I do this diet, I've seen a lot, and I'm in no way a master of ketogenic diet or ketones or ketosis. I'm still learning every single day. I'm still learning, and every single day I realized that yesterday I really didn't know much, which is awesome, man. And it's a very cool feeling. And I really love this lifestyle, and I'm a big, believer that I feel like this is the way we all should be eating. I do not go out there and try to shove this down people's throats or try to tell people that their food is killing them. If you come here, I may tell you your food is killing you, but I will never go up to you and tell you your food is killing you. But with that said, I've found myself in this funny situation where I get to see other people now first starting out on a ketogenic diet, and it's really cool, man, because when I started this, I didn't know really anybody doing it. I talked about in the beginning, I went like 6 weeks. I didn't even know that the first phase of Atkins was a ketogenic diet. I was just looking up all these obscure sources, because I didn't know that any big thing had ever done like a ketogenic diet the way Atkins phase 1 is a ketogenic diet. So that is a whole source of knowledge right there once I found that out. So with that said, it's very cool to be able to see somebody else starting off that doesn't know anything, and they can reach out to somebody. And a lot of times they reach out to me and they ask me like, hey, what do I do here, what do I do there? And I think that's beautiful, man. Not because I want to be a guru, because I'm not a guru. I've said that many times. This is not my diet. I didn't invent this. I'm just some dude who has a fucking camera and is very comfortable being alone in a room by himself talking to himself. It's a role that I'm comfortable with, and so it doesn't bother me too much. But with that said, I try to pass on useful information because I believe in communal knowledge, and I believe that's the way we build a strong community. But I'm in no way an expert. But I try to help where I can. And I find myself more and more being approached by people that I know in real life, and also people that I've met through our podcast or our website or social media or whatever the case may be. And it's very cool, man. It's a fun thing to be able to mush heads with people and try to figure things out. I enjoy that. One thing I have noticed though is I feel like a little bit the motivations are a little different, to be honest with you. And I'm not knocking that at all, man. We all have different motivations, and really whatever your motivation is cool, man. As long as you know what it is, as long as you're honest with yourself about what it is, and also as long as you kind of realize the truth behind, how making this motivation a reality may come into play. I know that was very weirdly worded, but the way I think about it is like this, okay? So we all know of a movie, for instance, that everybody has hyped up. Oh, this movie's awesome. Avengers, whatever the movie may be. I feel that way right now about Suicide Squad. That movie is so hyped up to me that when I go into that movie, I know there's going to be things I don't like about the movie. And that's because I'm so hyped about it, and I'm so under this belief that this is going to be some greatest shit I've never even seen before. It's going to blow my mind, and I'm going to walk out drooling on myself. And in reality, those movies, they always kind of let you down a little bit, you know what I mean? Because you built it up too much in your head. But then there's movies for me, Alex, who I do Neanderthal Radio with, he had really tore apart Point Break, the remake. And I love the original. Somehow we got to talking about the original. I love that movie, and he was just telling me how terrible the remake was, and it was so terrible in his opinion that I had to watch it. Like I was just like, oh man, I gotta watch this movie now. Um, but I went into it thinking this movie was gonna just suck, and the dialogue is gonna be garbage, and this whole movie shouldn't even have been made. And you know what? I really enjoyed the fuck out of the movie because I went in with those expectations. Like I didn't expect the dialogue to be good. I didn't expect any Oscar nominations, and what I enjoyed was some of the cool action scenes. Granted, that movie was terrible, but I was able to enjoy it because I wasn't expecting anything more than to just see some dudes jump out of a plane and do some ridiculous shit. And that's what I got, and I enjoyed it more so because I got exactly what I thought I was going to get and a little bit extra because I wasn't expecting anything extra. And this diet is not, I'm not just trying to say this diet is as terrible as Point Break. But what I am saying is I think a lot of people go into this diet, and I kind of feel it initially when people call it a diet. When people say, "Oh, yeah, I want to do the diet for a month," and I'm like, initially, like I was a little more like snobby. I don't think I ever admitted it, but I think I was a little more snobby about that than I am now. Now I just kind of realize everybody's motivation is different, but I think that's kind of a first little pitfall. Is like for me, this has always been a lifestyle. When I approached this diet, I was looking at it because some people that I thought were really fucking cool, man, and I was listening to their podcasts and different people, Mark Sisson, Tate Fletcher, even, Joe Rogan a little bit, although he's not the best source to be honest with you, but he's funny. But, I look at someone like Mark Sisson who's like 60, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, you are incredible looking. Like, you are in way better shape than most 22-year-olds. And, part of my motivation was I had suffered a knee injury. I've had a knee injury that's bothered me almost my whole life, and I finally got too old to ignore it, and I ended up having to have like a complete knee replacement, ACL, meniscus, all sorts of fun shit. We got, zombie parts in my leg from dead bodies, metal, all sorts of fun shit. And that recovery sucked. It was like 6 months, and I gained weight and I was overweight, and that made the recovery even harder. And I ended up just sitting on my couch for many months, and I just basically was popping Percocets, like Tic Tacs, because that's what the doctors were giving me. And I didn't really think much of it until like after the fact. And I was like, wow, that was like 3-4 months of just like sitting on the couch, taking, Percocets, and, with my Xbox remote in my hand. And it just felt like a waste. And I was like, wow, that's kind of how, medical professionals treat injuries. And I was like, I felt like those 4 months was a waste. And, either way, I was going to be sitting there, I was going to be immobile, but I could have done something better with that time. And, after that, that thought never left my head. And I started to really get into some of these, I guess I hate the term, but biohacking. And I started listening to podcasts from people that I thought had a very interesting way of like seeing life and the body and just things in general. And sustainability is something that always comes to mind for me, not in the environment, although like that's not a bad idea, but I'm not the most environmentally friendly person, believe me. But sustainability for me more in the body. And what I mean by that is when I was younger, man, I always looked at shit like, how can I be in really good shape so girls like me, or how can I, blah, 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 blah. Or, it was all very short-sighted. That's the point. It was all about like how can vain purposes. And now like I started to look at like, man, I want to be 60 and be in shape like Mark Sisson. I want to run up hills. Like I want to be, if I somehow pull off like the trick of all tricks and live to be 80, I don't want to be decrepit, man. Like I want to be mobile. And so that got me to thinking about that, and that led me to different things. And like ketogenic diet is very interesting to me in the sustainability of the body and helping the body optimize itself. Like I said, biohacking is kind of the in term now. So that was my motivation behind looking into a ketogenic diet. And the weight came off so fast initially that I like it almost surprised me, because I knew that you were shifting your body, your metabolic state from being a sugar burner to being burning ketones. I knew about ketosis. I knew about these things, but I very vaguely know about everything, to be honest with you. I didn't know a whole lot of anything. I just kind of jumped in, man. Like I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but I've always had this theory, like everybody wants to become a master at something before they actually do that thing. So everybody wants to feel like they have all the answers before they ever leave their house. And I've heard it said, like I forget who said it, man. I think it was that dude, like the Mountain or somebody. The Mountain from Game of Thrones. He's like a strong man, and he's like, everybody asks me how do you lift a car or something like that, and he's like, the first thing I ask them is how often do they work out, and by that he basically was saying, I think it was him, it could have been somebody else, but the point is like everybody wants to know the mechanics behind how to do that great thing, like how do I lift a car, and it's like you're not even strong enough to lift a car yet. Like first you got to work on the other steps, which is go to the gym consistently. Now that you're going to the gym consistently, increase your strength, and then you can work up to that thing. You don't need to go into something having all the answers. You can be prepared and you can be informed, but you don't need to be a master of that thing, because you only become a master of that thing if you're lucky by doing it. And most of us, we never actually become a master of anything. We just get good at things if we're lucky. And so that was my approach. I just went in with a very basic understanding of ketones, ketosis, the process, and basic foods to eat. Like it was my bacon and cheddar diet for 2 weeks, because that's more or less all I ate. And the irony of it is that I actually had good results, way better than I thought. I lost like 20 pounds in the first 2 weeks, and a lot of it's water weight. You know what I mean? That's expected. I didn't even know at the time, but I was shedding my glucose stores. And I felt like, weirdly, I felt my muscles get smaller, which I wasn't super thrilled about. But I just stuck with the process. I trusted the process. And then, a week later, 2 weeks later, my muscles got big again. And, it wasn't until even weeks later that I found out what that process even was, with the body shedding the glucose stores, and then the glucose stores in the muscles being replaced by free fatty acids. Like I started to learn all the science behind this after my body had already experienced it. And now look, not everybody has to approach it that way, but I think the necessary part, or I think the helpful, I shouldn't say necessary, the helpful part about that is you don't start second guessing things. Like you just trust the process and you go with it. And that was, I think, my benefit, because once the weight started coming off, then that became exciting. And then like by the 5th week, I started to stall. And I stalled for like 2 weeks, where I lost either nothing or very little, like a pound, half a pound. And that was disheartening, because I was like, boom, like the first week 13 pounds, the second week 12 pounds, like the third week 8 pounds. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to be, in incredible shape by the end of the year. And which, hey, we all want that, man. We all want to look like Zac Efron, all right? Don't try to lie to yourself. But when that became the motivation, and then the weight loss slowed to where it's at now, which is on a good week, a little over 3 pounds a week, on a lesser week, 2 pounds. And so that's great though, man. When you think about it, I'm still eating like 2,000 something calories. I'm never starving. Like it's awesome, man. And the biggest thing is I'm not losing muscle. And that's kind of, I guess, one of the benefits of a ketogenic diet is a lot of the weight you're going to lose, aside from the initial water weight, is going to be fat, man. And like, I really can't stress it enough. All weight loss is not created equal. You can go on a cleanse and drink nothing but cayenne pepper and water and fucking cucumber juice, whatever the shit that shit is, and you're going to lose a lot of weight in those 5 days. But I promise you, if you're lucky, like 20% of that weight you lose is going to be fat. A majority of that weight that you're going to lose is going to be water and muscle tissue. And it is what it is, man. Like that's science. But yet people still do those diets, man, because we feel like 5-10 pound weight loss. Oh God, it's amazing. I can lose 10 pounds in 4 days. Like, you really can't. You really, really, really can't. But if you think you can, go for it. And you may. And then, within 3 days, you're back up 11 pounds. So you actually gained a pound. But I think that's kind of like the yo-yo thing that we do is, because that motivation is just, we want a scale to tell us that you lost a number. And I think that's a pitfall, man. Like, that's a huge pitfall, and that's where I think the weight loss aspect of this diet can be dangerous, man. And I know more and more it's being called a diet, not a lifestyle, which is funny because nobody calls the paleo diet. So everyone generally acknowledges that as like a lifestyle, but people getting into a ketogenic lifestyle, they're calling it a diet, and they're approaching it for weight loss. And I mean, this is being pushed not by people that understand it like Mark Sisson, but it's being pushed by people like Dr. Oz, who just, his job is to constantly be on the cutting edge of something and to sell it to you as though he's an expert on it. And all Dr. Oz is a TV doctor. You know, it's like going to Dr. Phil for real family counseling. Like, maybe don't do that. It's maybe not a good idea. But I know a lot of people are going to go to a ketogenic diet now because they listen to Dr. Oz, and he's been pushing it hard. And my wife was just telling me that he was on some, I don't know how to say this without offending women, but lady morning show. I don't know which one. She said the name of it, but it's like some lady morning show. And he was on there talking to everybody about how a ketogenic diet is like the end-all miracle for weight loss and even men's health, man. Like, in the last issue that just came out, they did a whole thing on a ketogenic diet and how that's going to revolutionize people's, physiques. And it's true, but what both sources miss is that they're pushing this strictly as like a weight loss, and that's dangerous, man. Like, Atkins did it the most responsible. Like, if you're going to solely look for weight loss, follow the Atkins approach, because there is pitfalls to a ketogenic diet for weight loss, and there's not a lot of pitfalls in this lifestyle, but there is a pitfall, and if you're approaching it strictly for weight loss, and I'll tell you what that is. Well, first I'll tell you the Atkins approach is the right approach because it's tiered. So in phase 1, and like I said, I didn't even know Atkins phase 1 was ketogenic until I had been doing this diet for like 6 weeks, and then somebody's like, "Hey, it's very similar to Atkins. You know that, right?" I was like, "What the fuck? I don't even know what Atkins is." And anyway, but the more I looked into it, it's like Atkins has the right approach. I thought it was silly in the beginning, but now that I see, like, now that I've gotten used to this diet and I've gone 19 weeks in this lifestyle, like, I see now, like, the Atkins approach, if you're doing it for weight loss, is the right approach, because you do, in like a first phase, when you're losing all the weight, you're eating only 20 net carbs. After that, phase 2 is slowly increasing carbs. And then what phase 3 is slowly increasing carbs even more. Now, the reason I say that this lifestyle or a diet, as the people that are doing it strictly for weight loss are looking at it, the pitfall is when you follow a ketogenic diet for a very long time, your body's burning ketones. We all know this. We've talked about this. Everyone understands that. The problem is you're no longer burning glucose. And generally, that's awesome, man. It's not a problem at all, except for that you plan to one day go back to eating carbs how you used to, which maybe 300 grams of carbs a day. I'm not going to judge, but that is a lot of carbs, man. Like, especially coming off of a ketogenic diet where you're eating 20 net carbs. And the problem is assuming you've been on a ketogenic diet for any amount of time, over 2 weeks probably even, your body is now burning ketones. It's not burning carbohydrates. You're not getting carbohydrates. The longer you stay on a ketogenic diet lifestyle, the less efficient your body becomes at monitoring glucose. So this is what everyone needs to pay attention about if you're strictly doing this to lose weight. If you immediately go from eating 20 grams of carbs to eating 200, a bunch of things are going to happen. You're going to get sick, first and foremost. You're probably going to get very, very, very sick because your body doesn't know what to do with all that glucose anymore. Your body has not been burning glucose. It doesn't really recognize glucose anymore. You have become severely insulin resistant. And that sounds more scary than it truly is, because like I said, you just got to follow the Atkins approach and you got to tier those carbs back into your system. But if you just immediately say, hey, I lost the 10 pounds I wanted to lose, let's go celebrate by eating McDonald's and cake and shit, and boom, all this sugar, fucking glucose, I'm fucked. Your body's like, fuck you, it's shutting down, and you feel sick, you may vomit, you may get really bad. And it's because you're super insulin resistant. Now, I've talked about it many times. is a lot of us are actually pretty insulin resistant, to be honest with you. Not to that level that you will be, but already initially a lot of us are insulin resistant, which is why we get fat, because your body, the more you eat carbohydrates, the more it has to, your pancreas has to create insulin, and it's storing all that fucking carbohydrates in the fat. We talked about this, and you can't burn fat while your body is storing glucose in your fat. So you shut down fat loss. That's the point. So I think the biggest threat for anyone losing weight is you are going to yo-yo, because if you drastically jump from no carbs to high carbs, your body's not going to know what to do with all that glucose. You're going to store it. You're going to gain weight. You're going to get fat very fast. So that's why I say that one of the dangers of weight loss is if you approach it from weight loss, a lot of people see a diet as, I'm going to diet until I get to this number, and then I'm going to stop. And you really can't do that on a ketogenic diet. I think it's irresponsible that somebody like Dr. Oz is even telling people that they can do that. And I personally believe that, like, everyone should live their life and do what makes them happy. But I think a better approach to this diet or lifestyle is to stop calling it a diet, for one, call it a lifestyle, and to kind of at least try to commit to the process. You know what I mean? Like, and think like, damn, dude, it's great to be 30 and fucking have more energy than when I was 20. That's awesome. And one thing that keeps me going is, like, I'm still injured, man. Like, and I feel good. I feel in pain, but you know, the thing is too, it's like this time around, I was like, you know what? I'm not taking pain medication. And you know, it blows every doctor's mind when you won't take drugs. And they're like, hey, you want something for pain? And I'm like, no. And they're like, but I thought you're in pain. I said, yes, but I don't want your drugs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some days is bad, some days is not as bad, but it's not necessary, you know, to take those drugs. I mean, some people it is. Maybe my injury is just not that severe. You know, if you're like in pain, I mean, I just feel like I'm not trying to knock anybody. That's the point. I'm not trying to be politically correct either, but I'm not trying to like demean anybody like that suffers pain, because I know some people suffer severe pain. So, but for me, it wasn't necessary. I was honest with myself, and I was like, hey, you know, Percocets are a lot of fucking fun, man. And I was like, you know, it would be nice to take Percocets and sit on the couch. But then I told myself, like, well, do you need it? Like, can you take this pain? And I said, you know, I could. And so I didn't take the medication. And that's one of the really inspiring things to me, is that I'm still injured, and yet I feel this good. Like, I just can't wait to be pain-free and to be injury-free, because I know I'm going to feel even better than what I feel now. And when I tell people about a ketogenic lifestyle, I don't say, hey, you'll lose weight. I just say, man, like, I sold Alex on it without even meaning to sell Alex on it, because he sees how much energy I have. And now that he's got a baby girl who's, you know, taking a lot of energy from him, he wants the energy. And like, it's cool, man. Like, I think he's going to do great on this, because he's approaching it from that way. You know, my wife, she wanted to lose some weight, and also she saw my energy and things, and for like 2 weeks she didn't lose any weight, man. I don't know what the fuck happened, because, you know, I was giving her guidance on things, and like I say, that's the funny thing of like when you become somebody's like guru. It's so silly, but you know, she would ask me things, and I would answer things, and for 2 weeks she didn't lose no weight, man. It was very weird. And she started to get mad at me, and that's where I say it sucks when you're like somebody's guru, because she was getting mad at me. I was like, why are you getting mad at me? Like, this, one, is not my diet. Two, you know, I can only tell you my experience. And three, I'm not a fucking doctor. I have no clue why you're not losing weight. And she was becoming very frustrated about it, because she wanted to lose weight. Like, she doesn't really care for my butter coffee. She still pretty much hates it, but I told her, like, look, just please trust the process, like, go with the process. And it's been awesome, because she's a way better cook than me, man. Like, that's kind of the reason why I really wanted her to stay on a ketogenic diet, because she makes some bomb ass food. Like, I had some keto fried chicken. Like, she makes this awesome stuff that I was not eating when I was having to cook for myself. So I joke, but I'm also kind of serious about that. But the funny thing is like, then out of nowhere, one morning she was happy, and I was like, what are you so giddy about? All that weight just fell off. And it's the funniest fucking thing. Like, for me, it fell off in the first week. I think the first day I lost like 3 pounds. And it was very, very, very silly. Like, for her, 2 weeks, nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom, just starts to fall off. And I don't know why, man. Like I don't know. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of like reasoning behind why that could have happened. I'm I'm not a girl, so I don't really even know. Like maybe there was bloating, or I don't know. Like girl biology shit can be going on inside the body, like that can cause this to happen. And like I don't know if I've ever said it. I think I've said it before. Um, Men respond better on this diet than women do. And I mean, one of the big reasons behind that, I actually don't know like the main reason, but one of the big reasons behind that is there's a lot of benefits with this type of eating style and the elimination of carbohydrates with increasing levels of testosterone and growth hormones and things like that. And it also suppresses estrogen, which was maybe one of the bigger reasons why men, when they use this diet, they feel so much better. And women can go through a phase where they don't feel as good because certain foods, especially like soy, increase estrogen. And in a woman, that can make them feel better. In a man, it makes us feel like shit. So, anyways, the weight just started to fall off, and then she's happy now. And I was like worried for her for a minute there. I was like, I don't try to tell anybody what to do in their life, but I was like very worried for her because I was like, she's going to give up on this before she even sees what can even come from this. And that's because she wasn't getting the one result that she really cared about, which was she wants to lose a couple pounds. Like most girls, they want to lose a couple pounds. And Alex's fiance is about to start this diet, and she's doing it for the same reason. She wants to lose a few pounds from the baby that she just had not too long ago. And not knocking that, but I feel like it kind of robs you of a lot of the other benefits that exist out there. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, the big one for everyone is weight loss. But I mean, the funny thing is the weight loss comes a lot of times as a result of you eating less because your hunger is now suppressed. But like for me, it was the cognitive function. Like when your brain is using ketones as fuel, it's far more efficient. Like it almost reminds me, like on a way lesser scale, but of that movie Limitless, where he takes that little pill and it's like, whoa, everything looks different. And like I feel like that's how the brain feels when it experiences ketones. It's like, wow, clean energy. You know what I mean? I was like had like pre-hypertension, man, and like my blood pressure went way down. Like it's like incredible. I told Alex a story how I went to see my doctor finally because it's still in our head that like eating high fats and things could potentially be problematic. And it was so funny. I went to see my doctor. He ran all sorts of shit, and because he was like, "Hey, good job, you lost weight, blah 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 blah." My blood pressure was super super good, man. Like perfect. He like perfect for a super healthy person, like let alone for somebody that's still overweight. And he was just like, "Man, awesome." He's like, "We can almost take you off of your blood pressure medicine." I was like, "Dude, I'm not on no blood pressure medicine." And he's like, I didn't prescribe you something for like pre-hypertension." And I was like, "No, dude." And then he's like, "How did your blood pressure go from that to this?" Like, and then he wanted me to come back so he could take my blood pressure again. And when I went back, it was still perfect. He's like, "This is incredible. Like, this is awesome." And then he's like, "You've lost weight, so what are you doing? Like, are you working out?" I was like, "Not really. Can't work out, man. My back." You know what I mean? He's like, "Oh yeah. So what are you doing? Like, you just eating lots of fruits?" And I was like, "No, I don't really eat fruit, man. What are you eating? Like low fat?" I was like, "I actually eat a lot of fat." He's like, "You eat a lot of fat?" He's like, "But healthy fat, like all like nuts and avocado?" I was like, "Yeah, man." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, but you're eating like grains?" I was like, "Nah, dude, I don't do any grains." And it tripped him out, dude. Like I finally like broke down and told him like, "Look, man, I'm on like a ketogenic diet." He's like, "You're intentionally inducing ketosis?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Whoa, okay, yeah." I mean, and then he started telling me, he's like, "Well, I mean, we got to watch that high blood pressure, and we got to watch that because all that fat can't be good for you." I was just like, "Dude, I just rocked your mind with like how my blood pressure has gone down and my pulse is like awesome and like all my shit is like good." You know what I mean? And I'm not bragging or anything, but it's like it's just funny how that like switch in people can occur because I told him that I was following a high fat diet. Had I told him, "Yeah, man, I've been taking you gave me medications," and he'd be like, "Oh, good, keep taking those medications." Like You know what I mean? And it's just like funny. I don't really know what we talked about this podcast. I hope it was enjoyable. We talked about a lot of nothing, but I had fun talking to myself. I hope you had fun listening to me talk about myself, talk to myself rather, and about myself a little bit too. I just like I don't know, man. I don't really know. I had like kind of a important takeaway that I wanted everybody to get, which was more or less to just kind of like whatever your motivation is. If it is weight loss, you just kind of understand, man. Like I always look at the thing that caused the thing. You know what I mean? Like if your tire keeps getting a flat tire, you can keep repairing that flat tire, or you can stop and ask yourself, why the fuck do I keep getting flat tires? And then you can say, hey, you know what? They're doing construction all down that road over there. That's the road I take to work. Maybe I should find another route to work. And that way I'm not running over nails every day. And that's a solid solution. That's not to say you won't ever get a nail again in your tire for the rest of your life, but your odds of getting another nail are decreased for sure. And you for sure aren't going to get a nail in your tire every single day for the rest of your life. And I feel like when people look at the thing that's making them miserable or unhappy or, unhealthy, we don't do it as well. We want a short-term fix, man. We want just something that's going to fix that problem right now. And then we don't really care. We don't really care about the problem coming back. And then when the problem comes back, we become really disheartened. A lot of times we don't acknowledge that the problem is back. Like with weight gain, you know what I mean? You lose a lot of weight real quick. You lost it. You're awesome, man. Cool. Yeah, feel good. You buy a lot of like clothes to show off how good you feel, and then that weight comes back, and your shirt ain't fitting right anymore, and you've gained weight, but you ignore it. And if you're lucky, you got good people surrounding you that are gonna like help you and gonna tell you, man. You know what I mean? And because we don't want to do that. We don't want to like tell people. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. But those that care about you tell you, and then you realize like, shit, man, I got to do something about this. But then you go back to doing the same thing you did before, which was just get it off fast, and then you never fix the problem, man. Like whatever that problem is, whether it's insulin resistance, which I believe needs to be fixed with a very low carb diet. You can maybe go moderate carb eventually, but you're never going to be a high carb eater again. And if you are, you're going to gain again, and you're going to be in this like vicious circle of gaining and losing, gaining and losing, gaining and losing. It's either that or you're going to be consistently hungry and like killing yourself on a cardio machine because you feel like that's the way to do it. And I mean, I think your motivation needs to be pure. And if you are using a ketogenic diet for weight loss, which many people do, I think you have to be kind of understanding of the process and of the end game as well, because I'm telling you, man, you can't just jump out of a ketogenic diet into your normal eating habit. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's gonna be a lot of people just trying to sell shit. Dr. Oz, for instance, just trying to sell, that he's in the know and that he's part of this like cool little like clique where it's like, oh yeah, this is the keto diet and blah, 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 blah. And it's not full information. You will gain back all your weight, man, and you may get very sick if you just try to jump from a ketogenic diet to a high carb diet. Your body's not going to know what to do with all that glucose. And so I think like I think that's kind of like the point of this is there's a lot of benefits to a ketogenic diet beyond weight loss. And I feel like the diet has become become a diet instead of a lifestyle. And I think if you really commit to the process, and you'll start to experience some of these things like the mental clarity. Like even if the weight loss stopped, I would say, hey, you know what? I still got to lose more weight. What can I do to lose weight? But I would not abandon this ketogenic lifestyle at this point because I very much am in love with the biohacking of the brain and of like how good I feel and things of that nature. I also feel like motivation. I feel like motivation is a bit of an asinine thing to rely on, to be honest with you too, because we always like say like, oh, motivated people, and we have this like twisted belief that somehow motivated people have this like supernatural energy that they just wake up motivated and they run and they go about their life. And I think it's a little demeaning to that individual, but also I think it's a little demeaning to you because it somehow implies that you're not capable of doing that same thing. And the truth is motivation is just a word. It's almost like how we say dedication or obsession. Dedication and obsession are the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just different words we use, like motivation, motivated. He's a motivated person. I think it's better, man, to create consistency, because all motivation is consistency at play. So you see somebody who's consistent and you say he's dedicated. But or he's motivated or dedicated, and there's no like internal thing in him like, oh fuck man, like boom, get up, go, go, and he's like got all this motivation. It's because he's created a consistency in what he does or she does. Equal opportunity, men and women here. But that's all the motivation is they have created a consistency. And with a ketogenic diet, I think that's hugely important. You have to be consistent. I said that many times. This is not a lifestyle or diet that you want to cheat on. Like, you can't be like, oh, I ate good Monday through Friday, so now I'm going to eat the fuck ever I want Saturday and Sunday, because it's never going to work. Your body's going to constantly be confused. It's going to be like, all right, we're running on ketones. We feel good. Whoa, shit, here's glucose. Back to running on sugar. Wait, oh, ketones. You're going to be like in keto flu for like the entire eternity of like however long you do this lifestyle. So I think consistency is more important than motivation in everything. Working out, nobody wakes up and just has a ton of energy to go run. It's consistency. You go to the gym, you do this, you do that, and I think it's all the approach. That's the point of all that. Because I mean, you got to be honest with your approach. Don't expect a miracle in anything in life, on a ketogenic diet, on anything, or you're just going to be sorely disappointed. And I think also you rob yourself a little bit of some of the awesome like benefits of a ketogenic diet when you are only looking for one thing. Like with my wife, 2 weeks, nothing, and then boom, the weight fell off. And then like she's like excited about the lifestyle now, and then she feels great too. And I was like, well, did you not feel great this whole like 2 weeks? And she's like, I felt good. And I was like, so why were you so disappointed? Well, because I wasn't losing weight. I'm not making fun of my wife. I'm very, very scared of my wife. So I would never make fun of her. But the point is she couldn't see the other benefits because she was really so focused on seeing that one thing that she couldn't see the other things in play. And you know, some guys may suffer that if all they're seeing is like, oh, I need to lose weight, and they're missing, like, you know, your body's changing. Maybe you're working out, maybe you know, not eating carbs, not suppressing your testosterone, not increasing your estrogen. You could be building muscle that could be offsetting weight loss. Also, maybe you aren't like fully committed to or inconsistent with this lifestyle, because really it only consistency pays, man. This lifestyle will only reward those that are consistent. So that was it. 38 minutes of just kind of talking. You know, I do kind of realize, like, when I have notes, I feel like we talk about a lot of stuff. Like, now I have no clue. I have no clue if what I just told you was good or just horse shit. And you know, I mean, I told you good information, I hope, but I don't know if it's all just like insanity from my mind. But I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.